Welcome to the Animation Happy Hour,
a podcast where we talk about breaking into the animation industry over a couple of drinks.
All opinions and views expressed in this podcast are solely our own and are not representative of the companies for whom we work. My name is Ben.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Garrett, and we're all currently animators at Disney. Very impressive, Ben, that you got that.
Good job. It's only been 2 years since the last time we did that.
Oh, has it really been 2 years?
Hello,
Maybe
everyone.
not quite, but
It feels like it.
yeah.
We're so happy to be back. We're here sipping on what was supposed to be a drink called Espresso Martupdate. It was espresso martini.
Just let that sink in for a bit. Espresso Martupdate.
I wonder, why would we call it that, Ben?
Because we're giving an update finally after, a year and a half, 2 years? We're unofficially titling this, maybe officially titling
Oh, yeah,
this.
we don't know the title.
Where have we been? Or something similar.
We're still alive. Happy to report.
We're still alive. I made these delicious chai espresso martinis. I slaved over them.
It did take him like 20 minutes.
Yesterday I made the chai syrup in advance.
Oh my gosh, really?
And then we brought them out and
well, we got about halfway through them first, and then we set up for the record, and
it went everywhere. It spilled.
Somehow a domino effect happened where I was trying to move mine a little bit farther away from the edge, and then Garrett's new puppy came by, and I think I just did a too slightly urgent movement to get it away from the puppy, and then they all ended up domino affecting each other, and then
But it's okay. We have that
spilling all over Garrett's beautiful rug.
We have that mix of the caffeine from the espresso and a little bit of the spirit.
Yeah.
So we're just in a weird place.
They were delicious, for the record.
They were very good. But now we're on our second, because we couldn't finish those. So now we're having some Corona updates.
Oh,
Corona update.
Good improv there.
That's great.
Talk about, so Garrett's puppy came running for the drinks. Should we talk about life updates now?
Yes.
Where have we been? What's been going on?
Oh my gosh.
Year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
It's been a while. I think the last time, so I got married. I don't think I was married before.
Wow, to who?
To Isabel, my lovely wife. She was on this podcast as well. And we got married, got a house, got a dog. And
through a whole character arc.
I felt very grateful to be employed throughout this whole process too, because these are all individually, these are all very expensive. It's marriage, house, dog. Yeah. So I'm still at Disney. So yeah, it's been a while. How about you guys? I want to hear your.
There was a little foreshadowing there with talking about still being at Disney and things being expensive. Well, later we're going to talk about how it's a crazy time in the industry right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as for us, life updates. We remained married. We actually, fun fact,
important.
we moved in 2 streets down from Garrett. So
we also
here
were
Purposely
lucky enough to buy a home.
right.
And we did it so we could save the podcast.
Exactly. That's right.
Primary reason.
The band is back together.
But in all seriousness, it makes it a lot easier to potentially do more episodes because we're literally walking distance. So,
but we are trying. Should we talk about?
Yeah,
this
no,
now?
I think we should. No,
can,
this is
right?
a great segue. Actually,
Okay,
yeah.
So we are, one of the things we've talked about since we obviously took a very long hiatus is ways to make the podcast more sustainable for us moving forward, because we really like doing it and we like being a resource for people out there, but we want to be cognizant of kind of work-life balance and sustainability going forward. So we are attempting to do a little more off-the-cuff podcast style. And that doesn't mean totally unplanned. We still want to have general game plans and topics we want to focus on per episode, but we're going to try to do it a little more all in one take as opposed to before.
We were a little OCD before about cutting out every single little.
You might not think of that. You might not think that because of the final product. But we did do a lot of editing, and we're going to try to avoid that going forward.
I feel like some of the charm. Oh my God, that sounded ego. Some of the charm of the show. But I feel like we wanted to set out to make we wanted to like plan episodes really well, and so we would like meet and talk before the records and like really have like a document with a script and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we were like, we want practical knowledge for and I think that there's still value in that, so we still want to do some of that, but we might have went overkill, like you were saying. And
sure,
specifically, like from a technical perspective, we are literally like right now sitting down, and I'm recording this all into the episode directly. There's no like, we're not going to be editing, we're not going to be so we might say this might be kind of a mess, but we're just going to kind of go with it.
Yeah.
Giving it a shot.
It's a new thing.
Yeah.
But that was good segue, Ben. We wanted to also, maybe this is a great time to bring this up. I don't know.
Yeah, perfect.
Just to kind of thank you guys for everyone who's listened to the podcast and has reached out to us and stuff. Like I just recently went to Lightbox. I was talking to these guys about it, and just got a lot of comments about people who've benefited from some of the episodes we've done. And it just feels good. You know, it feels like I feel like looking back at the episode list we did, first of all, I'm like, wow, there's like a ton of, we like hustled like every month doing a different one. Uh-huh. And we also had some really good episodes that I'm proud of that I think people did kind of come away with a lot of knowledge at. And I feel like just thank you for kind of staying with us and listening, and it's cool.
Yeah. We thank you to all of those who wrote direct Instagram messages or sent us an email, or I've had students reach out directly and say they listen over LinkedIn and that kind of thing. So we really appreciate it. And it does mean a lot, even though I know we were on hiatus, but it was, always lovely to get those messages. And I think we even had some of our first listeners reach out and say, I got a job after listening and following your advice for the interview or whatever. So that was especially meaningful to hear.
For sure.
That's great. Did you guys have any thoughts of like, I'm not doing like a post-mortem of the first year of the podcast. Just like a little bit, like, did you like I personally really enjoyed the fact that we got to meet so many people in the industry and just like chat with them about it. For sure. Were there things you liked, or were there things you didn't like that you wish you'd do different? I'm just curious.
Good question. Yeah, I really like the same thing, especially we obviously had a few people on who we work with every day, but I definitely only knew them in a very professional setting. Mm-hmm. So it was really nice, like with Rocco and Dorian, to sit down for a while, and Alea and Demi and all those people. Was really great. And there's more, but I'm not going to name them all. But so actually, speaking of that, I think that's something we're still interested in doing in the future is chatting with people and continuing the pipeline.
Day in the life
series.
Yeah, Day in the Life series. Yeah, that's the right word. So we're not like totally abandoning that, even though we have a little more laid back
we didn't make it very far. We got to layout, and we didn't even do animation, and we're animators.
We're still trying to figure it out.
Someday maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, selfishly, it helped us network. So we should be reaching out to directors and the producers.
That's right.
I'm on the pod.
Yeah.
But that was great. But I think as we talked about kind of a little bit ago, it was very time intensive. So something we want to focus on moving forward is still having valuable episodes that are a little, I guess, more efficient for us to record. So bear with us as we figure that out, but we are currently figuring that out. And
And we probably won't have, I don't know if you might have already mentioned this, but we used to be like a monthly podcast where we'd always have episodes every month. So we have no idea what our release schedule is right now. So might be every 3 months, might be once a year. We literally don't know. So we're just going to keep going.
We said, whenever Garrett feels like having a drink, invite us over and we'll record something.
It'd be way more.
So, coming to you 4 times a week.
Whatever.
I should just leave this setup like as it is in the room, and we can just go. Yeah.
Ben and I will come over, and when Garrett doesn't feel like drinking, we'll just record ourselves.
Right. Yeah. Also, when we decide we want to have a drink.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So cool. Should we transition into, we want to talk a little bit about the state of the industry?
Yeah,
Is it too early to talk about that?
No, I mean, that's
let's do
probably
it.
what's on everyone's
So
mind.
if you're listening in the future, we're recording in November 2023.
Yep.
Yes.
And literally on, I don't know, was it Thursday at midnight? The actor strike ended, I think.
Sounds about
Or
right.
12:01.
Yeah.
So that is
crazy.
clearly like one of the hottest topics right now, or the most hot button issue.
Yeah, the longest actor strike in history, or for a long time at least. Maybe not history,
Maybe
but
since-
for many years.
Yeah, or the first time the writers and actors like struck together.
Yeah,
Is that the
sure.
word?
Yeah.
Since like Reagan was the president of
Wow.
of SAG after, I think. So it's
Wow.
big deal.
Yeah. So obviously, I would like to say, like, it's come at it with an empathetic view right now. The three of us have been just frankly out of dumb luck. We've been able to stay employed during this time, but it is a very, very tough time in the industry, especially tough for people just graduating or people pretty new, or I mean, everybody really, as some studios have kind of shut down. A lot of productions have been on hold. Don't want to make it a downer, but I think we'd be remiss not to acknowledge that and say that it's really tough right now. And actually, just off the cuff, I don't want to put you on the spot, Garrett, but I was wondering, it's pretty, does it feel similar to like when, I remember we've talked about before, when you graduated, it was a very, very slow time.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe I just say that to like protect myself, my reputation. But I do feel like I was talking about this with Isabel. Like when I came to LA, I feel like I was like, when I first came, I feel like all the studios started to outsource, because I think Sony outsourced roughly around that time. And then maybe even Pixar was maybe opening up the studio in, was it Vancouver at some point? Or,
Oh yeah, I forget where, there was a Pixar Canada. I forget exactly where it was.
I guess like the sense that I got was, I'm like, oh, I wanted to be a feature animator. And I feel like it was like the worst time because everyone was starting to get into outsourcing. But as you know, you said that this is a rough time, and I feel like that's just been a consistent fear or concern about cycle. Yeah. Whereas studios and we all know about DreamWorks' recent news of they're doing, I think that's all announced, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
I saw articles
it was on
about
like
it.
Cartoon Brew and stuff that I don't know exact percentages, but like a percentage of their movies going forward are probably going to be animated at Sony ImageWorks. Is that right? In Vancouver?
That sounds right. Which isn't like, not to say
or
that
Sony Animation. I always get it wrong. Is it Sony ImageWorks or I forget? The Sony Animation branch that is in Vancouver will be animating a portion of DreamWorks movies.
Which takes away
misquoting.
Which it takes away work from Los Angeles, obviously, which isn't like necessarily bad, because if you're in Vancouver or Montreal or wherever, that's good. But anyways, to answer your original question, I felt like that when I came here. It was kind of a slow time, and I think maybe my thought about all this is, it seems to me, I haven't been in the industry for a crazy long time, but it seems to me that there's like cycles in the animation industry, and I just have to believe that this is like a very bad lull, but it's going to get better. I just have to believe that it's going to get better. Yeah. And if, you're a student graduating right now, it is really, really hard and probably really depressing and stuff like that. But also just a great time to keep kind of working on your own stuff. I think that's like a good way to approach it, is just kind of put your head down and maybe keep trying to work on your reel and stuff like that. It's hard if you obviously need to make a living. It's the worst advice. Just keep working on your animation that you can't afford to. So I don't know. There's no like easy answer, and there's also no like crystal ball to be like, you're going to have a job next month. Everything's going to open up again. So there's no like, I don't know. I don't know. It's tough.
One like small saving grace if you're a student is that most studios cyclically have some kind of entry-level program, whether it's internships or apprenticeships. So you can kind of target those as they come around. They don't necessarily do it every year, but those positions would be reserved for more recent graduates and newer entry-level animators or artists. So definitely keep those in mind. And like I don't want to paint like a picture that things are rosy or anything. Like it is really tough time because we have had, I'll be honest, there have been layoffs at a lot of the major studios, including our studio. So there is sort of like this flood of like very talented, very qualified, very experienced animators now looking for work. And that's really hard to compete with. So I don't want to like, I don't want to sugarcoat it basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, there will always be entry level positions and yeah, I can look for that.
Yeah. I think I love what both of you guys said. And I think, I'm hoping any comfort I take in or something I take comfort in is a lot of the issues we're dealing with are not new issues. I think it's very common to think that at any given point in time, what you're going through is so novel, especially current times with like AI and blah, 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 outsourcing everything. But I remember we were in a meeting not just a few days ago where some people in the union were talking about the last time some big strike went on, like Animation Guild strike or something went on, was in the early 80s and it was over outsourcing. So it's like this stuff is like always been a factor. It seems like the pendulum has historically and hopefully will continue to just swing both ways. And this is just kind of the first big retraction we are seeing in our careers since maybe the time when Garrett was graduating. And I would say one thing I thought of when Garrett was talking about like working on your reel and all that stuff, that's great. Totally agree. Also, there's, no shame in if you're a new graduate, moving back in with your parents or having a bunch of roommates and working that part-time job to make ends meet or full-time job. And I'll remind our listeners that Katie and I weren't in animation until like mid-20s or so. Didn't get my first like feature animation job until I was in my late 20s, and that's even early compared to some other people.
I wasn't back in CG animation until I was 29.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so I just think there's so much pressure to have things figured out immediately, but that's not always how life works. In fact, it often does not work that way. So take heart. And I was just talking to my dad the other day, and he was talking about when he, for those who don't know, he went back to school to become a doctor late in life when he had 3 kids already. And he graduated second in his class, and the person who was first in his class was 20 years older than him even, and he was in his 30s. So I don't know. Life is long if you're lucky. So, and it's easy to, put so much pressure on yourself after this 4 years of undergrad or whatever to have it all figured out. But the reality is a lot of people don't have it all figured out when they're in their 40s, 50s, beyond. So if you're really passionate about what you want to do, keep chipping away at it. The industry is going to do what it does and swing this way and that way. But yeah.
Yeah. AI is like the big buzzword, and I feel like in our department alone, you have both extremes of the spectrum being like optimistic or pessimistic about it. Right. I think I kind of personally land in the middle.
Yeah, sure.
This is my personal opinion, so I don't have a crystal ball to say what's going to happen, but my opinion is I feel like it's going to be a tool that maybe someday will improve like our workflow or make something faster, which could result in a reduced headcount of some kind. But I also don't think it's going to happen overnight. I frankly, this is something I have no idea what's going on. I hesitate to say, but I don't think the feature studios are like at the forefront of developing that technology. I think we're all so focused on just getting the next movie out.
That's very true.
And it's all these outside like startups that are working on AI, and it takes so long to build a pipeline that I just don't think it's around the corner from like taking away all of our jobs, basically.
Sure.
So that's kind of how I feel. I think that it's coming. It will probably change some things, but I sleep fairly easy at night. I don't think it'll be an overnight thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
I was going to say, I totally agree. I also feel like I see a lot of comments on, or like see stuff online about students being like, should I even get into the animation industry when the industry's so shitty right now? There's like AI that's going to take our jobs. And like, is it even worth going into? And I think that, I don't know, like AI, I don't know, maybe I'm naive, but I just don't think I think kind of like artists learning the craft and designing poses or designing art in a way that's like, I don't know, really good, for lack of a better word, is always going to be an asset to a studio. Like, I don't think like AI is generating stuff from other artists who've already done that work. So they're just not going to come up with like unique ideas. I think like Katie said, I think there's a place for it and it's going to be a great tool, ideally, to be used. But I don't think the concern, if you're worried just like AI is going to just take over this, I don't think that's a fear, at least in the short term.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be a thing. I mean, I think it's also affecting many industries, probably every industry to some extent. It's not just animation.
Yeah.
But yeah, you asked like ChatGPT to come up with like a joke or like something like a script. It's just not. It's not good yet. Maybe it'll get really good. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I do think like everyone in animation, or at least in our studio, like holds the collaboration process sacred.
yeah,
So like if you're removing collaborators, I think that's a bad thing. Like I don't really think a director just wants to make a movie by themselves, or maybe some do. I don't know, but at least the ones we work with are very collaborative and see that as an asset for the filmmaking process.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, I think you kind of teased the question of Garrett, of like if a student is going into animation even worth it, or should I become an animator now? It's a good question. And I would say, well, it depends why you want to do that. I would say
that's great.
If you're really interested in performance and with animation, like the craft of it and storytelling and kind of like the big picture stuff, I would say, yes, it's still worth it. If you're like, oh, I want to be specifically a character animator at Pixar for 80 years or something. I don't know. Maybe that will change. Maybe what exactly that means will be totally different. But I think the broad strokes reason for going into like storytelling, performance, blah, 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 perhaps there will be some things that remain consistent there that could be like, that I would say even now, I mean, even if everything stayed exactly the same, which I won't, that would be my advice for somebody going into animation, as opposed to like targeting a very specific company or something like that.
You said that before, I think, too. I feel like one of our early episodes.
I always say that, yeah.
It's such a good message, though. No, I mean, like, that's great. Like, I love your focus on just like, yeah, if you like the craft of it, that's kind of the reason to get into it. And it might mean you don't get paid like, $1 million or whatever. Well, definitely not $1 million. Maybe some people.
Well, inflation. If you're listening to this 10 years from now.
That's true. Yeah.
Maybe not 10.
No, totally. I think that I echo, what you said. I think it's important to like love the craft of it and have the right reasons to get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think too, like this is a theme I learned in therapy, was that we underestimate our ability to like overcome obstacles or change. And it's human nature to fear change, but I think whatever the future brings, we will all pivot, we'll navigate, and hopefully be okay, knock on wood 1,000 times. But
I wonder too, with like AI and stuff, I think a lot about like, I used to be in graphic design, and that's a weird industry where like, yes, you can have someone's nephew in their basement make you a logo and like design like your entire marketing materials. Or you have companies like Nike that are still hiring huge companies, spending millions and millions of dollars
To do a slightly different swoosh.
to do exactly that, you know, to do like, an update on the logo or whatever. And so I just,
Nike's never going to hire me.
I mean, it's a cool looking swoosh. You don't want to change it too
Nike,
much.
I buy a lot of your products.
So I mean, obviously we're all just grasping at straws. We don't know, but I wonder if, even if it is, one person can make an animated movie, if there'll still be a market for an animated movie made by 500 people who are experts at their craft.
Right.
I don't know.
Actually, that reminds me, optimistically, I've said to Ben before, maybe it means instead of making one movie a year, we make 2 movies a year, which I'm not opposed to. That could be fun,
Yeah.
As opposed to more layoffs or something. Maybe we just increase the output and the process becomes more efficient. Because even in the 2D days, didn't the movies take multiple years?
Oh, yeah, they took way longer.
So things have gotten more efficient. And
Disney's just celebrated their 100-year anniversary.
Yeah.
But we're on their 62nd film.
Yeah.
So that's, if you do the basic math, that's much less than, one movie a year. So, or much fewer than one movie. I don't know.
That's reminding me. There's some Reddit post I saw, and this is totally a tangent, but they were talking about the change, people being mad at Disney for switching to CG, and they were kind of responding to that. And they were saying, well, explaining the history of 2D animated movies used to take they said something 10 years for Mulan, which I didn't fact check at all, but I was like, that's insane. And movies used to be made in a linear fashion where you had a writer, you'd have storyboards, you'd have to lock the story because you can't animate and then change things around in 2D as easily.
Yeah.
You have to design the characters. Everything was linear, so it took a ton of time. It was super expensive. And then studios shifted over to CG, maybe partially because people were oh, this is a new technology. But a lot of it was also the fact that CG can be done
iteratively or
non-linearly. We've experienced, you can work on the story while you're animating, and you can change things about the character while you're animating. And I'm bringing this back. I know this sounds like a tangent, but AI, I feel it's taking a lot and learning from all these data sets and kind of softening things and giving you kind of the best answer given all these averages. And I think at the worst, studios do the same thing, in a shittier way, if I'm being honest, where they're like focus groups, for instance. We're going to take our film and go to the focus group and show them. And then you're kind of softening ideas. And I just don't think art works that way. The best movies we've seen, it's a director's vision. It's the writer's vision.
When something's refreshingly original, we all just gravitate towards that. And AI will just take from whatever already exists. So it can't be original as well or as easily.
You know what? To piggyback off of that, related to all that, we talk about, originality and new voices, and perhaps optimistically, if AI just makes things faster and cheaper to do, my hope would be there's just more cool studios and stuff, you don't have to be, if a movie doesn't make, or it doesn't have to cost $150 million to make, you can have more the equivalent of A24 in animation, but way more of those, you know what I mean? That optimistically, that's what I would love. Who knows?
I love that. And
I'll just circle back in 5 to 10 years.
Hey,
I know, see if we were right.
Yeah.
Speaking of A24 for animated films, I feel like this is a great and possible segue into talking maybe about animated things we've seen recently that have inspired us, that kind of give us more hope for animation. I'm recently watching
wow, good segue.
Perfect segue. HBO
This is improvised.
This is totally improvised. But HBO Max has the show Scavengers Reign, I think it's called. I posted about it on.
Oh yeah.
Yes, we watched the trailer. We still haven't checked it out though.
So cool.
Yeah,
it's so freaking cool, and
it looked beautiful.
I think Titmouse might have animated it.
Oh dang!
And yeah, it's a sci-fi. It's 2D. Definitely, I think I mentioned this. It's not for the faint of heart. It's definitely kind of like body horror stuff, and it's a little intense. But
man, I love that stuff.
Do you really? Or
no, I don't.
I was gonna say, really? I
feel like
I don't associate you with gore, but okay.
But anyways, that was just one thing I seen recently that I was like, this is so cool. But what have you guys seen recently?
Good question.
Inspired you?
Man, there are a few things.
Oh yeah.
Do
Go
you
ahead,
have
girl.
one? We watched the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's what I was going to say. Has Air Bear seen it?
We still haven't seen. I am.
It's a new
we've been
puppy.
talking about what? Yes,
He's been
puppy.
busy.
I blame the puppy.
Yeah,
but-
we loved it. I thought it was so fun. It was
So
like
cool.
hilarious. I love the style. I don't think they copied Spider-Verse. I thought they
No,
developed
yeah.
their own unique.
When I first saw the
Yeah.
trailer, I was like, what are you guys doing? Is this just Spider-Verse like 2.0 or whatever? Like, but no, I was totally wrong to ever suspect that. It was like
Yeah.
totally its own thing.
It was so fun. Like a lot of the designs had asymmetry just built into it already.
Everything about it was, I
Yeah.
love the story. I loved, there were so many times where you had every Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle on the screen and they were all doing things that were like super
Unique
specific and
yeah,
felt like, you know,
a teenager,
teenagers
yeah.
and like, man, I was blown away. I love that. I've been meaning
Yeah.
to message, I think Scott Carroll was the
Oh,
head of, I don't know
yeah.
if he was the head of animation or like a step above, like super, I don't know how it works with all the studios and stuff, but I think it was the studio he's involved with that worked on it. He's an old Blue Sky supervisor, a really great animator. And I've been meaning to message him. So.
And they're super fun creatures that we love.
Yes.
Or mutants.
Yeah,
Sorry, I won't
super
spoil
cool.
it, but
I've only heard good things, like
Yeah.
from multiple people. So, and it looks so cool.
yeah, man, I find it so refreshing to see like I don't know, just animation on twos or mix of twos and ones. And I would
Was it
love
on
to
two?
see-
Was it a mix of like twos and ones? I didn't know.
I think so.
I think
Okay,
so.
that's
I
cool.
think in parts.
Yeah,
yeah,
so
I'll have
cool.
to rewatch, but
It's really cool.
yeah, it just shows you like story is king. So story and writing, yeah, it was very funny.
Yeah.
Good job, Seth Rogen.
It was pretty.
Was it
yeah.
Seth Rogen?
He's like an executive producer. I don't think he was the
think-
director, right? He was
No,
the
but I think he helped
was.
write it. Yeah,
Wow.
I forget what he worked on. Crap.
I feel like
Well,
yeah, you're right. He
That's
worked
how
on
you know it's
something
live. We
that
would
liked,
normally look.
but now I'm like,
I know he did Sausage Party.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
I'm pretty sure he did.
Yes.
Seth
Sausage Party.
Rogen.
I think-
Yeah.
And he did. Yeah, which I don't. Yeah, I mean, I will not speak on that.
Wait, are we talking about Seth Rogen or the?
Yeah. Seth
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know what he.
Gotcha.
I don't know if he directed Sausage Party, but I thought he was somewhat involved.
To their
There
credit, I
was-
think
okay.
there was some news about like that they treated the animators much better
that's
on this.
Yes.
film. So maybe they weren't totally aware of like the.
If people don't know, there was some.
unpaid overtime.
Yeah, there was some drama when Sausage Party came out that. I don't know. Any disclaimer? We don't know.
Yeah, we
we're
are
just
not-
speaking on-
These are
out
just
of our mouths
rumors.
right now.
Yeah.
But we heard there was like it was a pretty toxic environment with a lot of unpaid overtime.
Was the studio name? It was like
I don't remember.
Okay, this is how. Yeah,
I forget.
Yeah.
I forget.
we're bad. We should do our research.
Yeah, but long story short, I think this article was saying that because of that, Seth Rogen and whoever else, directors, executive producers, tried to make sure that
Ninja
that
Turtles.
the Ninja Turtles
Yeah.
was different, and like animators could
Oh,
like actually
gotcha.
have a life, and the
Kudos.
overtime was like discouraged, or if there was any overtime,
Snapped.
it was very sustainable.
Yeah.
yeah. So
That's-
so it was cool. Yeah, I hope that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
You always want to know that like something you liked was enjoyable to
Yes.
work on.
Yes.
Definitely.
Oh my gosh.
You
yeah.
once you're in this industry, you learn like everything you like just the experience of working on it was like horrible or something. Like not every
Or there's,
time, but
or at least there's like little to no correlation. It's like
Yeah,
totally random.
exactly.
Like
Yeah.
the movie that you hate could have been the best experience working on it, and vice versa, or any mixture of like,
Yeah.
it's just not a guarantee. So
totally.
it's always so refreshing when you're like, oh, it's good to work on that. And I love that movie.
Yeah.
Great. It was a grand slam.
I have two more things
Oh,
that I was inspired
sorry.
by.
yeah.
Marcel the Shell was she's on the movie.
A24?
Yes.
Oh,
it was.
I think it was A24. Oh my gosh, I
A24.
hope it was. Yeah, it was, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it definitely was because I bought a little figurine from them of Marcel.
I'm sure there was like other studios involved, but
Yeah.
A24 was like
Just because we mentioned it, I was like,
yeah.
It's just like so not the norm for an animated movie to be this like nice slice of life
Yeah.
documentary
It's very
style, stop motion,
very subtle.
very subtle.
It was very
Yeah,
cute.
it's just so super charming. Definitely give it a chance if you haven't seen it. And then the other one, I should have done my research. I didn't know this question was going to come up. I don't know the name.
What?
I loved it. I don't know.
There was a
So
trailer for a video game that for the southern.
The southern. There's like a
Man,
southern, like
we should just like
deity sort of thing. There's like this giant person playing like the banjo in like the swamp. And it's a really cool
so
game.
cool. It just
Oh my
What
God.
system is it for?
I don't know.
we're the wrong people to ask.
Katie's brother, who's involved with video games, sent us a trailer for it.
Man, it just
We'll
like
put it in our show
looks
notes if we
really
have
cool.
Yeah.
Like the character designs are awesome. Yeah, we'll look it up.
That did look cool, man.
Yeah, part of the recording process is we turn off our phones because we don't want the feedback, so we can't Google things quickly.
We're
But we'll
staying
find out. And whoever made the trailer, I think it's awesome. Good job.
Yeah, looks great.
That is-
Yeah, maybe we can put a link to it or something somewhere. Yeah.
I know this is old news at this point, but Arcane. I really loved Arcane.
Yeah.
That's another really good one. But
Yeah.
I like
Tell us more. Why did you like?
I liked it because I thought that I really enjoyed the animation for such a series, like CG animation. It's hard to see that caliber. Usually, like they sacrifice, I feel like certain things with the animation quality because it's really expensive. It just seems like it's almost like feature level quality for a series. I don't know how. I guess it's Fortiche, the studio, did it.
Oh, yeah.
But I like that. But mostly it was the story. I just really liked the sisters and kind of seeing Jinx, the evolution. Did you guys watch it?
I watched all of it.
Oh, cool.
Katie watched some of it.
Yeah. I like the fact that the whole story of like the sisters and I feel like I'm not doing a good enough job defending
Yeah, that's great.
the sisters.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but
Yeah.
I just the visual style was cool and
Yeah.
there was some
Sure.
really, I mean, that intro slaps very hard.
Yeah,
too.
man.
But anyways, what did you
It
guys
does
think?
slap.
I
just
feel
love when
like
you say
Garrett
that.
says that a lot.
I've been
I
saying
feel like
that
the
a
last
lot.
time I heard you say that was you were like Taylor Swift. She slaps.
Oh, it was when you were. We should have talked about that.
Oh,
during
that's
life
part of your
update.
life
That is a life
update.
update. Yeah, the Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift.
Yes.
The coveted ticket to the
Right.
Eras
The
tour.
Eras tour. It was very legendary, I will say. It
She
was.
performs for like 3 hours straight, I heard. Or
Oh,
Is that right?
gosh, it was very long, but
dang.
that actually
That's
was
impressive.
inspiring. Seeing the Swiftie fan base is very wholesome. It's like the nicest fan. Everyone's like trading friendship bracelets.
Wow.
And like talking to each other. Oh, what's your favorite song? And just like very wholesome. And I mean, they're all like probably teenage girls that I'm just around.
No,
They're
She's
nice.
got a big fan.
the following is incredible.
Yeah.
Because like we were talking about Katie's like, I love that we're talking about this. On
Sudden
we're talking about Katie's like pregnant friends went to it, and my 17-year-old sister went to it too, and I love that like it's
Garrett.
bringing everyone together.
and Garrett.
Hey,
Garrett.
she is objectively talented, and the amount she writes, like she writes so many songs, and I don't know. I think she gets a lot of shit. I feel like for like, oh, she's like dating all these people and stuff,
Just
but
when you're that popular, you're gonna get shit.
she recently like ate mayonnaise and like or something in like there's some drama.
Oh,
of,
is
like
it the chicken tender ranch thing?
that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
What?
I don't remember. I just seen headlines.
What is
I
this?
I don't
follow it
even
closely.
know.
Wait, I didn't realize you got shit for it. I thought
just
it was
gonna-
like, oh, look, she's one of us.
She's
I just want to pitch this in the moment. If we turn Animation Happy Hour into more of like a TMZ,
yeah. I think we
headline-
should gossip about. Actually, There was like, it was really funny. In my hometown of New Canaan, Connecticut, there was recently a weird thing where everyone thought Taylor Swift was at this restaurant with her new like boyfriend, and like swarms of people went there. And there's articles written.
Wow.
My sister texted me being like, "Oh, Taylor Swift is at like," I forgot what the restaurant's called, but then it turned out to be like completely fake, and someone had like this like
Wow, was it
mascot.
the restaurant promo person?
Yeah, actually, that'd be genius.
It was marketing from the restaurant. She has to have a crazy level of fame too, like where that affects just fundamentally your life.
Did you see from I think I saw a headline that like from the Eras tour, it's estimated she made like over $4 billion like gross or something. I don't know if it's like
That's
she made that.
Maybe
or
she'll
if that's
start an
like-
animation
wow.
studio.
Yeah, Taylor, if you're
We
listening,
We can bring those back.
we
to
defend you eating that mayonnaise or ranch or whatever. Please
eat whatever
start
you
an
want.
animation studio.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to well, we can continue to talk about Taylor Swift if we want.
No.
Oh yeah.
But
No.
one thing I actually did want to shout out that is a little out of the ordinary for stuff we usually talk about in terms of being like inspired by animation, but Apple TV Prehistoric Planet. OMG.
Yeah. That has
Beautiful.
happened since we last recorded.
Oh my god. Beautiful. It's like dinosaurs.
Is it
blah,
CG?
blah,
Is
blah.
it-
CG?
Oh,
But like
It's really
watching
good.
that, I'm like, oh my god, that's what a velociraptor definitely looked like.
Like how they move.
It is
yeah.
so cool. And I think apparently they worked a lot with like biologists and
Okay.
people, paleontologists. It was like pretty legit, and it's like really cool feathered dinosaurs. God, it was so cool. I'm a big creature animation lover, and on top of like, normal human performance, but oh my god,
It
blown
really,
away.
felt like a real nature documentary.
I'm not sure
Yeah.
who worked on it. If it was like a London
Yeah.
studio or something. I don't know why that's in my head. I have no idea who worked on it, but whoever did, bravo. I tip my hat because, oh my God.
and is it
beautiful.
like factual? Like they're trying to go for like this is what they were like?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
supposed
that's so
to be
cool.
like just a nature documentary, but they
Oh,
happen
like
to
David
be prehistoric.
Attenborough.
It is David Attenborough.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's so cool.
I cannot recommend
wow.
it highly enough. It
Apple
is so
TV
beautiful.
is killing it, by the way.
Oh my God.
Was it? I mean, there's so many shows I feel like that are so. Ted Lasso,
Severance.
Yeah,
Severance?
Severance.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
like
yeah.
they're insane. They're so good.
Yeah.
Doing their thing.
Yeah, we won't name. There was a more recent, like, prehistoric series that it doesn't look as good.
spicy.
I won't say what it is. There's like a million of them.
We're gonna get canceled.
Oh, speaking of
But I'm just trying to give props to the
Yeah, no, it's
Apple
Yeah,
one. 'Cause they were,
it was
really.
it was unbelievable. It was so
yeah,
good.
unique.
There are some shots where I'm just like, holy crap, like that.
You really
Does
can
not
tell,
look like
like,
animation.
oh yes, dinosaurs were the ancestors of birds, and like now
Yeah.
this kind of makes sense for how they move and
Are
how
they, like,
birds work
feathered?
and-
Yes.
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
there are such.
I mean,
cool
obviously it's
designs and
fictional,
stuff.
but I'm still like, that's a real dinosaur.
Yeah, man, that's so cool, so cool. Speaking of Apple, aren't they the ones? I could be wrong. That didn't they commission / don't they have the new Peanuts movie?
Oh, I think that is
Martina?
a new headline.
Which that's exciting
I
too.
didn't know
Yeah.
about
They're doing there's some sort of new Peanuts movie coming out, and I think it might be inspired by how Blue Sky did it.
Hopefully,
Mm.
yeah.
Actually, I don't know that at all.
No.
I'm just assuming because of Steve Martino, who's from Blue Sky.
Right.
And now they're, but
that's cool.
yeah, shout out to Blue Sky for doing a great job on the first Peanuts. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I know it was a
There's
long time
still
ago, but it was so
demand.
good. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
bringing it to like big picture, there is this. I feel like I've heard rumors of like tech buying entertainment companies,
Yeah.
and with this
Yeah.
conversation of AI, like I wonder if that's a good thing because then we always talk about how like movies are related or movies are dependent on box office, and it's hard for a movie to be. Oh snap! Ben is signaling that it is almost.
No, it's not. We're good. We have. I'm sorry. That was terrible.
No. I
Right
should
when-
have like flowed with it. I should have.
Remember what you were talking about, but I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
saying with our goal, we're about 30 minutes away. So we're good.
Thank you.
We're doing great.
Yeah, that's great. Anyway, I was just saying that tech companies, the rumors, or maybe I read one article about like a tech company buying entertainment companies. What are your thoughts on that? Is that even an interesting point of conversation, or maybe not. Who cares?
I'm interested.
I don't know.
It's interesting. There's like an optimistic and a pessimistic side to that. Like, I feel the optimistic side is that tech companies have so much more money than any of our parent studio companies.
Yeah.
In the magnitude of like trillions or like billions. So then there's so much more wiggle room for like if a movie flops or something, it doesn't really matter. But then the pessimistic side is they would then own all of our animation data and could feed any AI programs much faster.
Sure.
I even hesitate to say that out loud, but I'm sure they're aware of that ability. So it's not a secret.
Just know the CEO of Apple is listening. Katie Lowe's onto something.
So there's that, but who knows? Or maybe it's a little bit of both.
Who knows, man?
That kind of also just goes to show that like we have no control. We're little peons in this world. Little animators. Yeah. We don't have any control. And I think there's some, like I have a lot of friends and stuff, and I have a lot of friends. I don't know why I said that. But no,
I saw you wrote that here in the notes. I was wondering how you wanted to.
No, I was gonna say like, oh god, this is one of those things where you want to edit out. No, it's live. I can't.
It's perfect.
It's in. But I feel like people like to talk so much about like the meta and the not literally the company Meta, but just the meta of our industry, and just like, oh, how's Disney doing and stock prices and like how are we? And I'm just like, does it even matter for us? Like, we're just peons, and we kind of have to just do our thing and put our head down. And I think it's kind of relevant into what we're talking about with the negative state of the industry is like we don't have control over this stuff, and you just have to put your head down and kind of do your best to make ends meet and get by and work on your craft. I think. Yeah,
I feel like we were talking with a work friend recently, and we are just sort of like, well, nobody can know like about the possibility of future layoffs or anything. We enjoy our jobs right now, so you just kind of have to enjoy the ride as long as it lasts, and whether that's 10 years or 2 years or 20 years, like I'm very just grateful to be where we are right now and enjoy it.
Yeah,
completely. Yeah.
I don't want to waste it worrying about what we can't control or we can't predict. Nobody has a crystal ball. So
yeah, for sure.
Really well said.
Ben was nodding in a way that I thought he was going to do yes and keep going.
Oh, sorry. I need to work on my finalization nod of yes, and I have nothing else to add. Yeah, that's true.
So in conclusion, we have no actual concrete advice for you guys.
Well, I'll tell you what I was thinking of, and I didn't know if it made sense to try to work it in or not. But here's what was on my mind, is not having control, having that being like I don't know, it's like a source of stress, but also comfort with like, frankly, anecdotally right now on the current movie I'm working on, it's going through like some story changes and stuff. And because of that, I'm working on 3 shots, and those have just like gotten blown up like crazy. Like I've been on them for weeks and weeks, but I'm basically like starting anew on them, and something I have to consciously talk myself through and remind myself is like, it's okay. It's not your fault. You're not an idiot. Things are changing. Now it's just adapting. It's a natural part of the process. So I don't know, just to take it from the macro to the micro here with like day to day. Just recognizing what you do and do not have control over. And so that's what was in my head.
Oh, that's relatable. What was in your head was the work you're doing at work. The work you're doing at work.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Should we, I was thinking of like, we talked amongst ourselves about possible episodes that we might be interested in doing. It's not like necessarily like a promise that we're going to be doing this, but we had some things that we might be possibly being doing.
Yeah, good question. Just to chat about potential plans for the future.
Yeah, I would love to do a union episode, especially because it's kind of we're at the end of the hot labor summer, and there's been so much union stuff in the news. before we kind of went on hiatus, we did want to do an episode about the Animation Guild and how important it is for all of us, and how we love our union. And we know a lot of students are totally unfamiliar with unions and how they work, and so we would love to kind of illuminate people about how our union works and what it means for us.
Yeah, and I would love for that to be totally just, well, obviously just informational, but like respecting the fact that I know, especially in the United States, we have kind of, there's like complicated views of like unionization in general. I think I added an extra syllable.
Yeah, it's either like a positive or a negative depending on the industry. And
so whenever we do that, and I totally want to do that too. I want to be very respectful of wherever you're coming from. It's not going to be like, everybody should be union right now, but it'll just be very objective, like, hey, here's what the union does and does not do. Decide for yourself whether you're pro or not. And but spoiler alert, I think you might be pro.
Like the only protection you kind of have in like the way capitalism
perfect
is being run amok. Like it's I feel like it's great. Yeah.
Yeah,
I totally agree. We were going to do an episode right before, but we didn't get to it.
And like Ben said, we can present, kind of what the main pros and con arguments are.
Yeah.
And
or misconceptions too.
Yeah.
Because speaking just anecdotally for myself, I think there were a lot of things I misunderstood, because there are some problematic, things here and there, just with like any organization or whatever. I'm not saying with unions in general. I'm saying with like some specific unions, in the way that there's problematic and good companies or whatever. With any large body of people, there's going to be some gray area.
But
I think
sorry, I totally cut you off.
No. But I just want to. So I would love to just bring up some of the like commonly held beliefs, whether they're true or not, and let our like union experts just kind of give us the objective. No, this is kind of what it is, and this is what it's not, and just present it casually.
Yeah,
I like that.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just gonna say, I just want to have an episode like that lives on the internet as a resource, just explaining like, here's your intro to the animation union and. What would be nice to know right when you join. There are certain things that are helpful. Like you don't, for example, have to pay your initiation fee right away. You can pay it in installments, that kind of thing. So that's something I definitely hope to do.
And that is different from country to country. Something I didn't know, but like apparently we just heard recently about like what it takes to unionize in Canada versus the United States. And it's a fairly significantly different process in some ways. So it'll be really interesting. I think that'll be a good one. Yeah, I'm pro.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think we talked also about like a mental health or burnout.
Oh, yeah.
I think that'd be really fun.
Definitely.
Kind of like practical tips of like, everyone talks about mental health and how important it is, but what are some actual things that you can maybe implement that'll help, that we've all implemented? And we've done a mental health, I think, episode before. No,
it comes up a lot. Organically.
So I don't know if we did
like setbacks and failures.
Oh
or rejections or that kind of topic. Or it comes. But we can do one specifically about it for sure. It is important.
Totally.
Yeah.
And the day in the life of continuing that. I think that's great. We got to do more different crafts and stuff.
Yeah. I'll be honest. Part of what I'm nervous about with Day in the Life is when we talk about animation, whether we put it all on ourselves or
we've had a hard time picking someone, because we like, how do you pick someone? We have so many coworkers and friends who we respect.
Let's just put them all.
Everyone. With any other part of the pipeline, it's easy because it's like, oh, we kind of know this one person. We'll talk to them. But so we'll see. But it will come eventually.
It's either a thing where we just have to do it.
Maybe we should.
Just like us, or you need someone maybe in different stages. You have like a supervisor head.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. It's hard. Yeah, that is hard.
It'll be really tough. Who knows?
We'll just not do that one.
Yeah.
We can just ignore that.
Yeah. Anything else to we discuss?
Just in general, something I'm interested in is getting more, and we've talked about this in the past, but haven't done a ton of it, but representing different parts of the industry, and whether it's video games or TV or whatever.
Yeah, we're very feature heavy.
Yeah. So it's definitely on our minds if you're wondering about it.
I totally agree with that. And now I feel like there's a lot of like VR animation.
And,
good. Like Apple Vision and I don't know, Meta. I'm curious to know what that's like. AR,
yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Good point.
That's the thing with this industry. It's like pretty cool. Like you can have a skill that has a lot of applications in many different things. So it's pretty like scrappy.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you guys, was it time for the tip jar or is it too early?
Let's do it, I think.
Ooh.
Unless there's anything else we've done. We're good. All right.
We're good. Let's do it.
Tip jar. Perfect. Today's tip jar, I believe, comes from Caitlin Elizabeth Lowe.
I guess, yeah, or we can all talk about it. So a hot topic right now for us at work is using X keys while you animate. So X keys are essentially an external programmable keyboard where you can assign specific commands or keys to individual buttons on the keyboard, and it can speed up your workflow because you can have your hand kind of more in one single place rather than stretching across the normal keyboard to like combine like Control, Alt, Control, Shift, whatever. So we know some animators who swear by it and spend a lot of work kind of building up their individual X keyboard and personalizing it. And right now at Disney, we're kind of transitioning to a new software. Surprise! I think we're allowed to talk about it. I don't know why we wouldn't be.
Yeah.
So the new software is probably a little more hotkey heavy than in the past. So a lot of us are starting to use X keys, and I just programmed mine last week. I can't really say from experience that it's sped up my workflow yet, but I hope it will.
Yeah.
And a lot of people use them for Maya too, or just like normal render or something. So I'm sure.
And it's popular at DreamWorks, right?
At DreamWorks, it's a funny thing where like at DreamWorks, like 85-90% of the animators use them. At Disney, very few have used them, but they're kind of transitioning more into it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's cool if you just think, through no matter what you do, whether you're a character designer or a motion designer or a storyboarder, animator, you're probably doing a lot of weird hotkeys here and there where you have to kind of like pick your hand up and reach between the Control and the J or the, Alt and 4 or whatever. And with X keys, it's this really nice way, like Katie said, to make everything like really accessible right there. So you don't really have to lift your hand at all. It's kind of like this extra keyboard that sits to the side of your normal like QWERTY keyboard. It might not sound like a game changer, but it can be. I have to say, from experience, when I was at DreamWorks, I used them for the last couple movies there, and I was like, oh, wow, I kind of wish I was using this the whole time, because you just get into the zone where everything you ever need is within like...
Ben is miming it with his hands right now.
Yeah,
we need to
and it looks really fast. But it's a nice little tip for... if you add up all the extra time it takes to reach across the keyboard here or there.
If you think about like the basics of animating in Maya, like the main manipulators are usually like Q, W, E, R, and then the framing keys are usually period and comma, which are in totally different places.
Yeah.
So
That's
with the X keys, you can make them right next to each other.
Yeah. Worth mentioning too that it's not even just like the application specific hotkeys. You can also set the X key to, like, for instance, enter your password. If you have like a really complicated password, put it on X key. That's honestly what I've been using mine. And I'm like, it's like a little quality of life thing that's great.
Yeah.
I will say that my concern with X keys has always been like, if you're hopping from studio to studio, software to software, that's the only thing where I'm like, oh man, if you rely on like your X key configuration, it could be a little challenging if you have to change softwares. Hopefully, I feel like most studios are using Maya. Maybe that's an assumption. So maybe it's okay. But just something to keep in mind, like, but I've been more like reluctant with the X keys, and I've recently started doing it. And I think there's a lot of utility. Like I think you're right about like framing through, like having like alt period and alt comma versus like QER and the hotkey. They're in such different places that you can get like carpal tunnel and stuff.
And it is, I'll mention it's a USB connected device that where the hotkeys are all programmed into the device itself. So in theory, like you could plug your X keys into a colleague's computer, but they still function the way that you originally set them up, which is kind of cool. So if you were going from Maya to Maya, like you'd be totally fine. But yes, it would require some translation if you went from Maya to a different software, like DreamWorks is Primo or Pixar's Presto. Like it would require different keystrokes.
But it's cool that it's like all located within the X key.
Yeah.
Like, so you can just, like you said, take it. That's nice. You don't have to like program it every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get fancy with different backlighting and stickers. And I like stickers. So. I was like really trying to think. I just did mine last week, so I'll probably kind of change as I start to use it. But I was thinking about like, would you make a section for blocking and the hotkeys you use the most during blocking? Or would you make a section for polish? Or
that's
this
interesting.
is your section for just using the computer and the internet and entering your password and launching the software, whatever. But you can customize it however you want.
It's interesting too, like when I've been setting mine up, figuring out what is the most, like what are the hotkeys I use? Because how I set it up is like I'm setting up for my hotkeys and I put my keyboard away and I'm like, what do I miss?
Yes.
And that's interesting. And then also, if you're a little overwhelmed and like, well, how do I even set my X keys up? Like the way I started it, and that has helped me, is like, how do you normally like orient your hand on the keyboard? Kind of like copy the, I don't know if you've been doing that.
I kind of did a similar thing. So I didn't have quite as much translation where I was like, okay, I do have QWER next to it. So I'll replicate that in the X key or whatever.
Yeah.
But
And speaking of tip jars, this is a little off the cuff, but we used to have a tip jar where you could tip us and we actually give us money for the podcast. And we took that off because we had some recurring tippers, but we stopped the podcast for a while and we felt bad just like taking money. But I don't know.
Dr. Lowe, for example.
Yes, Dr. Lowe, thank you very much. We might turn that back on just because of the hosting costs. I don't know. We talked about that a little bit. Is that something we're doing?
Now that we're back, we're going to turn it on. So anything you're willing to do is greatly appreciated. There's no amount that's too little. So yeah.
But keep in mind that we have no promises on our release schedule. So whatever you feel comfortable tipping, giving, knowing that it's not really a Patreon situation where we promise to produce content at a regular interval. Full disclosure, just
that's
you to know.
Smart.
So we set expectations, but we do appreciate it. We do pay to host the podcast and pay to have our website domain and all that. So we do appreciate it.
Yeah. Well said.
And we pay for booze, which we spill on Garrett's nice carpet.
Dare you?
Money even more now.
I need to buy a new carpet. You guys need to
rent a rug doctor.
No, but seriously, thank you guys so much. I know this podcast has been just in a hiatus for a while, and we love hearing from you. So.
We are back.
We're back, baby.
In some form. Feel free to still reach out. And I got to say, even during the hiatus, we still kind of check email here and there and are aware of what's going on the Instagram. So feel free to get to reach out to us through, those are probably the two best ways, right? And thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. This has been Garrett,
Katie,
Ben. Thank you for listening, and
happy